Hello everyone and welcome back. This video I've got chapter 1146 of One Piece, Motion in Stillness. And fun fact about this video is I somehow completely forgot to record this one 2-3 weeks ago, whenever it dropped. I was recording the video for chapter 1147 and I was like, I always file all my screenshots into a folder for the chapter, and I was like, where is my chapter 1147-46 folder? And then I realized I hadn't recorded. I was like, how did that slip my mind? So here we go, very late, gonna cover this video, and I don't know if 1147 is gonna be really weird because of the weird recording time. But let's dive in. Anyway, we start with as always, a lovely cover image. We're continuing Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest. And it looks like, because Yamato saved her brother, Ulti is going to be her follower now. So, is Ulti going to be friendly? I guess so, because Yamato's a friend of the Straw Hats, so I guess it is. The Beast Pirates are probably... I don't know what happens to the Beast Pirates now that Kaido's beaten. Oh well, we'll see if that goes anywhere. So this is going to be kind of fun, catching up with a chapter I read a few weeks ago. I do remember how it ended, the previous chapter. Gunko, because I've seen my video title from the previous one. Gunko stepped up to fight the weaker members of the Straw Hats, none of the monster trio. And yeah, we got a fight. And as we see in page 1, they've all recognized the intruder, and they're kind of piecing together that this is one of the people who took out the castle guards. And I love this little thing here that someone's calling her one of the human intruders. I'm looking at where the speech bubble's going. It's either going to Colin or Jinbei. And obviously Nami's the one calling her out for kidnapping children, because she's the one who she's fond of children. And in her typical world noble sort of attitude, she is not very happy about being called a human. So carrying on, Gunko, as all world nobles, think very highly of themselves, and she sees herself and her fellow world nobles as gods. It's an interesting callback saying you sound like Enaru or the Celestial Dragons. Sort of Enaru from Skypiea, but obviously Celestial Dragons, which is probably her closest ties. She's a holy knight. I think they're still considered Celestial Dragons, just like they fight, I guess. And Nami's wanting to know what they want from children of Elbaf, and even Colin speaks up and wants to know what you want with his friends and to give them back. But Gunko's having none of it, as you'd expect. The next page, we get another cool shot. We get Gunko talking about how they prefer a simpler method, but at that size our options are limited. We get a cool shot of them taking down another monster. This time they've taken down the lightning monster. I guess Ripley's one of the big combatants. Considering the close-up of her shot, we've also got Lilith and Bonnie celebrating. Again, Bonnie staying in her child form. I wonder if that's a permanent thing now. She's just going to stay in... I guess that's her true form, I suppose. It's funny, the anime is going to get to that soon. We've already had the moment where Vegapunk calls her a child, and Sanji's like, child? Like, So, it's not revealed yet, but it's getting there. But I guess Gunko reveals her plan at the bottom here. Considering I'm 2 chapters ahead now, their plan's not exactly going as she says here, but they're revealing the plan as going to taking the children to their holy land, Marijua. So I don't know. I'm going to record my chapter 1148 video kind of right after this. It's really weird because it kind of contradicts this whole plan of Gunko's, but we'll see what's happening. What's really cool here is they're kind of piecing together that, Gunko is is related to the celestial dragons, and Usopp's like, oh, you're not ugly and weird looking like the other celestial dragons. And interestingly, I guess Brook's been around for a long time, obviously, but he says, I suspect it's something above that, the Holy Knights. So he's aware of the Holy Knights, which we see then Gunko confirms. And Usopp's being chased by an arrow. So I was curious when we saw the arrows earlier if they were visible, because I wasn't sure, because it seemed like it didn't seem clear at the time. But yeah, Usopp sees the arrow, and as we see in the bottom, it's chasing him. It won't let him go. And predictably, because children are involved, Nami is the first to jump into action, and she summons Zeus from her climb attack, so she's gonna jump straight in. She's gonna take the first attack action, I guess. She rolled first on the initiative order. So it's interesting while this fight is going on that Gunko is kind of prattling on about something, but we see a new attack that combines Zeus with the climb attack. It's Thunder Shark Tempo, and it looks really cool. Zeus like transforms into a Thunder Shark, and Nami sends him towards Gunko, but we see that the arrow hits the shark and changes its trajectory. But like I was talking about Gunko's like little narrative, she says one day the world as we know it will cease to exist. And at the bottom she says, or so we thought. So she's plot dumping, I guess. But as we see, the shark is now chasing Nami. So is Nami in trouble? And on the next page, it does seem like Nami gets struck by the Thunder Shark. But as we see a bit further down, that it was actually Brook. Brook took the blow for her, and I don't know how lightning like affects Brook, because he's a skeleton. There's no like nerves or muscle or whatever. So how badly would that affect him? Probably not that bad. But interestingly, Gunko continues her narrative, but a small number of humans realized it and warned the world of the danger. And we get like shots of Vegapunk, and honestly, I've forgotten. That's Clover, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, that's Clover. And then at the bottom, it's Usopp's turn to attack now. And it appears that Usopp lands a direct hit. And he starts talking big. You thought we'd be intimidated by celestial dragons. And we see in the bottom half of the page that her top half is completely blown off, which, Usopp feels really sorry for. But before he can feel really too sorry, she starts regenerating. These Holy Knights are ridiculous and seemingly immortal. It's insane. So Gunko completes her regeneration and seems to continue her narrative spiel. And now it is unstoppable. No one can stop it. And, one of her arrows continues to go towards Usopp. And he's, confirming he's had the feeling that the arrows are pointing towards the targets of her attacks. And at the bottom, we've seen Nami fight, we've seen Usopp fight, and now Jinbei and Brook step up. But the final panel of the page, the countdown, has begun. And we just get a shot of the great ship Eric surrounded by the monsters. This is all going to look great in the anime, by the way. The next page, and I love these big panels, but Gunko continues her narrative, where she says a vast war will ensue and drag the entire world into it. And there's this great panel of I always get their names mixed up, Jory and Brogy, fighting the monsters. And at the bottom we see her say, and which side the giants pledge their allegiance to will have a profound effect on the outcome of the war. And we get a shot of a bloated Loki who's finished eating, I suppose. Ominous, because who are the giants going to pledge their loyalty to? Looks like they're trying to force their hand. Obviously, Loki already rejected Gunko and Shamrock. So it'll be interesting to see what their plan is. And we see on the side panels they've got here that Nami and Jinbei obviously yell at at Gunko, and Gunko just retorts, she's just doing her duty. She doesn't really understand the concept of hostages. So she's very interesting, to say the least. And then lastly, Colin's now stepping up. I don't know what he can do, but he just wants to try and stop her, I suppose. So a lot of action happens on these next 2 pages. Colin, his effort is completely worthless. He just gets captured by Gunko's arrows, which spurs Jinbei and Brook to attack. But unfortunately, Gunko's arrows effortlessly defeat the pair. And she immediately, on the next page, just goes and attacks Nami next. And we don't get to... We don't see her take much physical damage usually, but she gets a strong kick and is sent flying. Usopp then tries to jump in and attack because of this, but I guess he seems to miss. Gunko uses her arrows to evade, and then she just knees him in the face, and that just looks horrifically painful. But moving away from the fight, we get some sort of communication between Killingham and Summers, or I think it is Killingham or Summers. It might. I don't think it's Gunko. They're talking about if everything's been set up with the communication, and they're complaining about the inadequate communication around Elbaf. We get an overshot of the battle, everyone, the Straw Hats and Colin in pain, distress. Gunko dominating everyone apparently, and apparently Principal Tusk is in trouble. We find out on the next page that yes, indeed, he's more than in trouble. He is in really bad shape. And yeah, we see that Angie can't move. Another ability of Killingham. He says that her body's been slumberized. That's what he's saying, slumberized. So put to sleep, I guess. And they reveal can't get my words out. They reveal a function of probably the main function of the Pillbug transponder snail, the giant one, is allows communication to the entirety of Elbaf. So all the villages have their own transponder snails methods of communication that aren't linked, and this is the way to get communication across the entirety of Elbaf. So we move on to the final page, and it appears that in the background, is in the background the right terminology? But anyway, Summers had been fighting Sal. I forgot his name for some reason. Summers was fighting Sal, and obviously, look, Summers doesn't look hurt in the slightest, and Sal is beaten up to all hell. And it appears that Robin and Chopper have been instructed to hide in the back of his head. He got a little thought bubble of, Sal saying, Robin, Chopper, don't come out, stay hidden around the back of my head. So, and they're distressed by it, obviously. And, Sal falls forward so as not to, obviously, crush the two. And this is so distressing for Robin, of course. We get a little spoiler, it's to be continued, it's the end of the chapter. Sommer's celebrating the victory. But there's a bit more. There's some panels on the left where they talk about, you've got Somers talking about how he doesn't like the schools and the libraries that Elbaf has set up, this whole transition to a peaceful period, that the giants were meant to be their mercenaries, but Harold went and screwed it up. And that's the end of the chapter. There's a fair bit to digest in this chapter. Like, Gunko completely bodied the non-monster trio of the Straw Hat Pirates. So obviously, it didn't have the monster trio, it didn't have Chopper, it didn't have Robin. Robin would have been a great addition, I suppose, because her Devil Fruit ability is very unique. Chopper really doesn't get a chance to shine recently. I'd love to see him do like Monster Point more, some of his transformations, but we'll see. And it'll be interesting to see how this discussion, because there's a lot to still to find out about Harold. Loki was going to reveal something about Harold. Somers obviously isn't very impressed by an action Harold took. Maybe they are going to agree to be the Holy Knights like mercenaries, but they changed course. Yeah. But we'll talk about that in the next video. For anyone who watched, thank you as ever. I love that these videos get views, even if it only ends up being a few, a couple hundred. I still enjoy it, and hence why I keep doing the videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye now.